It's never been attempted before. To claim a dragon, you must also be prepared to die.
You must see in me a ruler and the symbols of authority, the shield and the sword.
You will still never match the strength of the Green Armies. We need Daemon.
I must now proceed as if I stand alone.
It is my fault that you have forgotten to fear me.
All right, what's going on, everybody? This is your girl, Meek Mills, also known as Merks to Merks, but really I'm just Tamika if you go by my government name.
Hey, you mess with her, you getting murked. Feel me?
Oh, I like that. I'm gonna start doing that. It's gonna be my catchphrase.
Yeah,
but I'm
sure.
not doing the murking though. I have a 2-year-old.
That's true.
And
by
I'm
murk,
joined-
it's like more of a metaphorical murk. It's not like a physical murk.
I would. Can you bring? You know what? I'm gonna leave that one alone.
It's more
And
like I'll murk you up verbally.
that's true.
You know,
psychologically,
with words.
philosophically.
Yeah, philosophically.
Break
you
you down.
Aristotle, Plato. That's
Anyway, I am joined by my very talkative colleagues and friends, dear friends, Mr. Ty D. Walker and, Danny Fanny.
Why do I just get the, man, that fucking guy?
No, Danny the Great.
Oh, okay.
But we're going to break it all down this episode 6, titled The Smallfolk. And they were going through it for some of this episode, and a lot of stuff happened. And at the same time, a lot of stuff didn't happen. But we do open the episode at the gold. Is it gold? I think it's the Golden Tooth, with Jason Lannister marching to Harrenhal. But, everyone has a dragon these days, and they're a little afraid, so they're like, hey, Aemond, hop on Vhagar and come escort us to Harrenhal. And Aemond is like, no, I'm not doing that. Get your asses down to Harrenhal. Who do you think I am? The disrespect. But so he also, at the small council meeting, he also tasked Tywin Lannister, who is his brother, with striking a deal with the Triarchy to weaken the Sea Snake's blockade. And if you recall last season, the Triarchy, Daemon and Sir Corlys, they were fighting them. It was a battle of the Stepstones, and the Crab Feeder was the main villain, the obstacle they were fighting against there. So that's who these are the same people that he's tasking with striking up a deal here. And there's also some tension brewing in this scene between Sir Criston and Aemond, because he also wants Sir Criston to go to Harrenhal to help support Jason Lannister. So they will essentially converge on Harrenhal, and then Aemond will ride out or hop on Vhagar to meet them there. But so Criston is like, hold on, I lost a lot of men. I'm not sure if I'm going to have a big enough army to go out there and face Daemon. But Aemon's like, neither does Daemon right now. I feel like I'm jumping back and forth between Daemon and Aemon because these damn names. but he's like, neither does Daemon right now. So we need to, attack right away. No time to haste. Get down to Harrenhal. Let's, scuff him out before he has time to strike up an army. So Aemond is getting a little chesty here, and the scene comes to a sort of a climax here. Where when he sends his mother Alicent off the council, he basically says, you know what, you did well serving in Viserys' stead when he was bedridden, but you know what, your talents are better used being basically a housewife, so I'm kicking you to the curb. But so basically, Aemond is sort of, flexing his muscle in these scenes or in these early scenes here now that he is Prince Regent of the Seven Kingdoms. Mm-hmm. And the question here is like, do you think that Aemond is overly confident here? And, do you think he has a reason to be this confident?
No, he's overly confident. He's really cocky. I mean, when you have Vhagar, granted, you should have a level of confidence that not many others do. But this is how you make mistakes when you're big headed. And I feel like I definitely have the sense of don't get me wrong, he's calculating, he's very clever and he's smart. I'm not taking anything away from on that front, but even smart people, when they get too big headed, there's cracks form and mistakes are made.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do agree that he's very cocky. I feel like him and Aegon are cut from the same cloth. Aemond is just as triggered. Aemond seems to be trying to prove a point. Mm-hmm. The major difference is that he's a lot less, or I should say he's a lot more quick to cut somebody's head off, whether literally or figuratively, mm-hmm. or both. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I do think in this particular scene that he is, well, I think throughout the whole entire episode he's like sort of flexing his muscle and sort of flexing his power, and we'll get later into the episode when the king actually wakes up from his slumber and we sort of see fear in his eyes. But I do think that he is overly confident. He's a little cocky here. Of course, like Danny said, when he has Vhagar, he has the largest dragon left alive. He just took down Rhaenys. He kicked his brother off to the side. I think he's feeling himself, and I think that could eventually be his downfall. And we'll eventually talk about Aegon and what role he could potentially play moving forward, and if you think he'll actually take the step back to becoming king, or if he'll like sort of play it in the background. But back at Dragonstone, we see the sea snake.
Oh, wait. Before you move on, when he passed through Tywin Lannister's chair, he was on the back of a chair. Did anybody think we was gonna have another like Beesbury moment?
Oh yeah, he was gonna slam his head. No, I didn't think so. Just because I felt like it didn't. It was definitely a lot of tension there in that scene. And you definitely see that Tywin was definitely a little.
He was skittish. That's why I was like, oh man. I mean, I think his character was definitely like worried, like, oh god, he's in the back of my chair. Anything can happen here.
Yeah, it was a very tense scene, and I think Aemond kind of comes off, and the actor that plays him is very sort of soft spoken, and you don't really see him get angry a lot. But at the same time, I'm not comparing his character to this other character, but in a sense of Homelander. but there is this sense that when he's on screen, there's an unpredictability factor to him, even though we haven't really seen him sort of go off rails outside of a few episodes ago with his whole plan. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really sense that, but I did sense a lot of tension there. A lot of tension in that entire episode. I thought that
that conversation with Alicent after the council adjourned was interesting, because he didn't really have any rage towards her or anything like that. It just seemed like he was just like, he's plotting, and he was like, your best, obviously he said it, your best interests are not in this council anymore, but it wasn't full of rage. I didn't even feel like resentment. It was just like, you're not needed in my plans.
And Alicent is sort of, and we talked about it, in a few episodes, how the tables have sort of turned on her, this whole mission of making sure that Rhaenyra doesn't, serve on the Iron Throne, and now she's sort of seeing her role reduced to being a mother instead of like serving the realm, which honestly is where a lot of her talent is. But because she is a woman, because she is who she is, a lot of men on the council don't have a tremendous amount of respect for her.
Yep.
So back at Dragonstone, we see the sea snake accepting the role as Hand of the Queen. The council meets with Sir Stefan Darkland. Whenever I see his name, I think of Darkwing Duck or something. You know what I'm talking about? For all you 90s kids out there.
Yeah.
And Rhaenyra says, you know what, Sir Darkland, we shared this common blood, which is very suspicious in and of itself, in the fact that she's like, it's your great grandmother's or something like that.
Far back into like,
yeah,
I think
super reach.
You went
super
too
reach.
far back.
Yeah, like
that blood is thin.
Yeah,
boy.
exactly. So she's like, we share this common blood. How about we're looking for dragon riders. We have all these dragons here on Dragonstone. Do you wanna hop on one? And oh, by the way, there's a chance that you might die in this process. But Sir Darkland is just like, you know what? These are gods. I relish the opportunity to almost die and try and claim
what was
one.
going to happen from that.
Yeah. So we'll get to that a little bit later and coming up in the next few scenes. But so Sir Darkland agrees to do that, but we jump back to Harrenhal and surprise here. Daemon is still having his fever dreams, and this time he's talking to his brother Viserys, and it's always great to see Patty back.
He's really kind of missed in this season.
He is, man. I was talking to one of my coworkers about it, and she was saying how she misses the younger Rhaenyra and Alicent, those actors too. And I was like, I missed them too, but unfortunately the story has to move on. It has to move on, and I think this is probably the last. I mean, not the last that we'll see of him. I think there's a possibility that we see him again in the next episode. But I think this is probably like the last hurrah that we'll get of these characters. Although there's no reason why we would have seen a younger Alicent in Daemon's dreams, although there was a little, I guess, sexual attention a little bit in season 1. But yeah, I think this is probably the last hurrah that we'll see of these characters coming back in terms of Daemon seeing him in his visions. But he's speaking with Viserys, and Viserys is basically telling him, which is it's not even almost. It's a verbatim scene from season 1. He just acts it differently, and I guess he acts it.
Yeah, his tone. It's almost interesting because I saw it side by side.
Yeah,
and when he's calm in the first season when he does the scene, he ramps it up in this scene, in this dream scene, and then vice versa. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and I think we're also looking at it from
Daemon's point of view.
Yeah, from Daemon's perspective, how he saw,
how he played out.
In his mind, and he's basically saying, I back you, I support you, I do all this stuff for you. I'm tired of cleaning up your mess. I'm going to send you back to what is it,
Runestone?
Yeah, Runestone. And we see Daemon's sort of reaction to that. And he's trying to get out of the room. And I saw online, interestingly enough, it's like, and I forget who said this. I watch so many videos and read so much stuff. But he was basically saying like, this is Daemon's hell. Like he can't escape. He's not good. Well, he's not good enough to be on the Iron Throne, and he can't escape, essentially wanting to be, in the throne room. Essentially.
Oh yeah, when he got locked in.
Yeah, when he got locked in, and then surprise, who's there to wake him up? Sir Simon, man, that guy is everywhere, man. He's everywhere helping this guy out, and he gets accused.
Are we sure he's not like a witch or some shit?
Yeah, no. But he for his troubles, he gets accused for being the culprit behind everything. So,
right, yeah.
So yeah, and people are really like upset with Daemon's sort of story arc so far with all these sort of dream sequences. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but like a lot of people in the comment sections are like, all right, it's time to move on. We're tired of like watching all these not flashbacks, but like dreams.
I do think they need to press on with this Harrenhal subplot for sure. Well, they need to ramp it up in terms of like, they've been here with the fever dreams for a minute. I will say that. I personally like them because I like exploring Daemon's character, especially because especially in the first season, he was such a mystery. Now we know kind of his motivations and his character and his plotting and all that. So I enjoy it personally. But it has been lingering here for a while. But I do understand why they're kind of like, stretching it out almost.
And I think for me too, it's kind of like wearing on me a little bit. It's just like, all right, trying to see like where
it's
is
pretty repetitive.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of repetitive. It's kind of like, oh, he has a dream, and then
he wakes up.
Yeah, he wakes up, and it's either the Woods Witch that's like trying to, I don't know, act as a counselor, or Sir Simon there to like deliver some news to him.
Usually
like,
it's bad news.
Yeah, usually it's bad news.
This
so
time it wasn't. So that was a change up.
So yeah, I mean, it's just it is sort of repetitive, and it's like I'm so curious to see where they're going with this because it isn't in the book anywhere. So no one knows. We're just all sort of making assumptions and judgments based on what we know about these characters from the book of like what's going to end up happening to Daemon and Alice.
What's not in the book? Daemon going to Harrenhal in general is not in the book.
No,
right?
Daemon going to Harrenhal, I believe is in the book, but like Alice being there and these dreams that he's having is not a part of that. So I think this is just more to flush out his character a little bit more, to add more depth to him.
Okay, because my question was going to be, if he does go to Harrenhal, does he ultimately end up making the same decisions? Because if that's the case, like you said, they might be trying to flesh out his character and also see it from a point of view, from his point of view as to what is leading him to make these decisions. Because again, I think I said this a couple episodes ago. It's like, I'm sure to Sir Simon and people around him, he looks like he's losing his mind, but we get a special look on the inside to see why what he's responding to and what he's seeing and what's haunting him. So I really can't say that it's filler. I feel like that's kind of along the lines of what you guys are saying, that you kind of have to wrap it up and it seems repetitive. I feel like I really can't say that until we get to the last episode and it all kind of comes together before I can say like, this is kind of a waste of time. Because I feel like everything is done purposefully and written the way it is intentionally. So I feel like it does serve a purpose, and I feel like I can't say that it's repetitive. I personally don't find it repetitive. Well, it's not true. It's repetitive, but I think it's repetitive for a reason.
Yeah. For the record, I don't find it filler at all.
Okay.
Yeah. I was speaking to like what people are saying online.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's repetitive though, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's more of how it's structured. Yeah. It's like dream.
Like this could happen in one episode if it wanted to.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like what you're saying is, it's dragging out. Like I think you could have accomplished the same thing that they're going after in one sort of dream episode, so to speak. But I also think in terms of the way that they're structuring these dreams is also sort of repetitive, because it's always more recently how we're getting introduced to Daemon in each episode starts out as he's having a dream, and then he ends up waking up. And in this episode, we get 2 dreams, and so it's just kind of like, there is that sort of part of me that's kind of like, all right, where is this thing going? But, they do such a good job of like paying off things. It's kind of like you're so invested into the characters that you're willing to wait out and see what ends up happening.
Yeah, for sure.
So going back to Sir Darkland, they are now I guess in a drag. I don't know if they
his fate just amuses me. I'm sorry.
I don't know if they're necessarily calling it the dragon pit area, but it is the part where the dragons are essentially being housed on Dragonstone. And And there's like this nice little chant. I guess this little creepy chant by, I guess, the dragon handlers. Like, there's a translation online for all those super, nerds out there that translated, what they were actually chanting. If you want to go on and see what they were actually saying. But basically, to no one's surprise, Seasmoke, looks like, he's willing to let Sir Darkland hop on and, ride off and, bond with him.
Let's go.
And then all of a sudden they lock eyes and it's just like, nah, this thing ain't gonna happen. And he turns and he smokes my guy. Like I
thought the dragon the entire time was not. I felt like he was playing with him the entire time.
Yeah.
Like I didn't see, like, especially when they were like, oh, don't show fear. Like you can't really read the dragon's facial expressions, but at the same time, I felt like he was purposefully toying with him. He's like, okay, sure. Come over here. Let me show you something. And like, I felt like there was never any intention to actually try to bond with this individual. I felt like the dragon was playing.
My only thing would be, are we sure that dragons have that kind of level of consciousness that like, oh, I'm going to psych you out.
The way that they edited it or shot it, it made it seem like
it did come off that way.
Yeah, it came off that way, that he was sort of Seasmoke was sort of toying with him. And I guess in my mind, I would have hoped they would have played it like more naturally, I guess, so to speak. Like if you're trying to tame, I guess, a wild animal and then you go up and approach it and then maybe you like offend it almost a little bit and then something happens. This seems like more like
for me it did play out that way. I didn't get that read of not initially. I can see what you're saying though. I didn't get that initially. It wasn't until like he was about to board and then he spoke English and he was like, what? Seasmoke was like, you speaking that poor tongue to me? We only speak Valyrian around here, motherfucker.
Okay.
And so I feel like it was in that moment where he was like, nah, you're not riding me, bro. Pause.
Tamika's face.
No, I'm considering it.
Okay.
I would have to watch it again from a different perspective because I just felt like I knew what was going to happen. I'm like,
I think we all knew. I mean, Criston definitely knew for sure.
Like, but I think that's also another thing that sort of bothered me about the scene a little bit is that the way it played out was very telegraphed and that like we all knew what was going to happen. I think there were very few people who watched that whole sequence take place say like, oh, he's going to survive this. Like, I guess like like the scene played out well. I mean,
there was still a lot of tension in the scene for sure.
Yeah, it was still a lot of tension in the scene, but it was like, you knew what was going to happen. And Sir Darkland turned Sir Dark. Jokes.
Okay.
I feel bad for the little singers.
Yeah, man, they caught a stray, man.
They caught that one guy.
Well, that one guy, man, he cut his throat. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I can't be true.
But I guess, like, I wonder how much they get paid. Like, what is their wage?
What is the
like,
payment?
Yeah, I know, like, you're risking your life out there too, man, trying to wrangle these dragons that could turn on you. I'm just wondering, like, who signs up for a job like that?
People who speak Valyrian. If they know Valyrian so much, they should be dragon riders, no?
To that point, about why aren't they dragon riders? Doesn't Rhaenyra, and you see this in Game of Thrones too, make a suggestion that they believe it is bloodline related, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I was because I had the same question. It's like, how do we know? It's really assumed that it's bloodline related, but dragons really seem to bond as we see, anyone that they really want to. Yeah,
Viserys said as much last time. The whole like Targaryen bloodline thing, he said last season,
right.
Like it's more or less
it's a hoax.
It's more or less like not a real thing.
Yeah, it's not.
It would be interesting to know where that came from. I don't read it, so I don't know, but it would be interesting to know where that developed from.
What the hoax idea?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I mean, I think it's just more.
I think it's more like just legend passed down.
Yeah, like there's this idea that there's these witches from Ashai that bonded, that they committed some sort of sacrifice and bonded Targaryen blood like with dragons, and that's why they're associated with them, and then they can sort of ride them. But then Viserys is kind of speaks, I guess, not denying that actually happened, but the belief that Targaryens can actually control these dragons is sort of a misnomer. I mean, and we see this stuff all the time in Game of Thrones about like unfulfilled prophecies and stuff like that, and sort of people stretching the truth on things.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if that actually, there's truth to it, but like them actually being able to bond with dragons is like not actually something that they can do with, but so Darkland gets turned into dragon fodder.
Shish kebab.
Dark meat.
It's
Okay.
I'm just wondering, is that something that, like, I guess if Rhaenyra came to you and was like, hey, you know what, you want to go tame a dragon? Is that something, would you be willing to like?
If I knew my lineage was freaking, I'm just saying, she had to go real far. She went too far, man. Come on.
I can see like Tamika wanting to try it.
No, not without the guarantee that I was actually going to bond. Like, I don't.
Yeah,
know
there's
that
no
I wanna
guarantee
risk
though.
my life.
There's no guarantee at all.
So the sea snake meets with Alyn, and basically tells Alyn, hey, come join my ship and be my first mate. So we see sort of a father-son relationship potentially building here. We then get a scene where the Smallfolk are complaining about the lavish lifestyle of the highborns. And, they complain about only eating fish. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, if I have fresh fish to eat every day, like I would be,
that's not bad.
That's not that bad. Like I thought maybe they were eating like porridge or something. Like they were struggling. Like, but eating fresh fish every day is not that bad. But
It's not.
They were basically saying, they have these they're throwing like these lavish parties and everything. They're having lamb and mince pies and honey cakes with beef and gravy. I know Tamika's down for the smorgasbord of food like that. That sounds right up your alley, honey cakes, beef with gravy.
Yeah, food. I like food. Sure.
What?
The way she said that was funny.
I think we all like to eat. I mean, I don't know why I'm getting called out.
Well, I thought,
Because you always seem to be eating right before
Yeah.
we're about to start and all that.
Let me explain something to you.
I have a 2-year-old.
No,
Oh, man.
currently I commute an hour and 20 minutes. Most nights I don't get home until 6 or later. So if dinner is not already made, I have to prepare it. And then I eat after the baby's put to bed. And right before we are typically recording, is when I'm finishing up something to eat. Because I need sustenance to survive.
Right.
Plus, I have a 2-year-old.
I knew that was coming.
The setup was good. I'll give you that. Yeah, that was great. That was great. It was a great setup.
So, that being said, it all sounds very lovely. Also, I know you're still going on, but that she was a plant, right? The woman that started the conversation. She was definitely a plant. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
She was a plant. She was She was the industry plant.
she's the Drake.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Wow. Can you like not turn off our like viewers before we can like really get
Hey, listen,
them?
you know what?
They with us. What are you talking about?
Yeah, they like us.
I'm hanging up now.
But I think the vast majority of our fans are probably, with Kendrick, which I think we're mostly with,
I think that is very presumptuous.
you know what happens when you pursue.
Moving on. I don't know what you were gonna say.
I don't know.
I don't know the answer at all.
I don't know either. Because I was thinking about, what happens when you assume. You make an ass out of you and me. But you can't really do that with presume.
That's really good. That's the first time you.
Oh, is that really the first time you?
Yeah, I've never heard that before.
Oh, okay.
That's really good. All
right. So, but they also mentioned in the same scene, they also hype up Viserys too in this scene where they're like, Viserys, he used to like his parties too, but he would never let us go hungry. So yeah, so they're planting the seeds here with the Smallfolk.
And it's funny because as far as we know, under Aemond's rule, that hasn't been happening at all. Actually,
yeah, no, Aemond's
he's keeping it real tight in there.
Yeah, he is, man. He locked them up. He locked them in King's Landing, won't let them out.
And we obviously see later seeing the sheep going to the dragons.
Yeah, to the dragons to eat. Yeah.
So that's the only thing that's happening, really. Like, they're definitely not throwing any parties or anything like that. So, but I think it's an interesting little plot they have going on to fool these town folk, I guess.
Yeah. We then transition to Rhaenyra meeting with the White Worm, who informs her that, that the Smallfolk need someone to blame for their lack of food. So, they're going to hatch this plan, which we'll later see in the episode, what their plans are. Larys is also informing Aemond that the townspeople are growing restless with the food. Again, there's this common theme here with the small folk and not being fed and being unhappy. So again, you see this, the seeds are being planted here that they're trying to turn these townsfolk against the crown. But Aemond just sort of pushes it off. And then Larys also says, you know what, Aemond, you don't really have a hand. Hand. I can help you out here if you need it. And he's like, you know what?
You're right.
That's a bright idea. And he's like, I would be honored. He's like, no, you fool.
Get out, old bitch.
That was a very a-hole moment.
It was, but he's an a-hole. That's A stands for a-hole.
But for what purpose?
Because he's letting the power get to his head.
No, I get it. It's a power move.
But once again, he also knows everybody else's schemes.
Yeah, that's very true. He's also very aware. He's a very smart guy.
Yeah.
For all his faults, he's a very smart guy. So he knows Larys is just, probably going to try and play him.
He's smart because he's not quick to respond. He's very calculating, as was said earlier. Yeah. And he's very observant. That's because he's a sociopath. But anyway.
Well, yeah.
So in this same scene, the Maester comes in and notifies everyone there that Aegon is awake. He can't really do that much. He's still bedridden. He still needs time to heal. But, he's alive, and Aemond is like, I better go see this motherfucker. So he's like, I need to pay him a visit. And make sure my brother's okay. And he's like, hey, you remember what happened? Like, yeah. No, I don't remember. I don't remember what happened. Good. Remember, because you just fought melees and it was just a dumb decision, right? It's like, yeah, right? I got you, bro.
Yeah.
But I guess like for Aemond, or not for Aemond, for Aegon, all these damn names. For Aegon,
get it together.
All these A's, man.
I can't say Danny's last name, so I can't talk.
Yeah. What a way to look at yourself internally. He's like, so for Aemond, do you think this was like a smart move on his behalf to like sort of go along with this plan of like not remembering anything and not telling anybody like the truth of what happened? Is this like self-preservation? Is this like fear on Aegon's behalf, or is this like a strategical move on his behalf that will later pay off?
Aegon is totally in fear. I didn't get any other. And what can he do? Like, he's bedridden. Like,
right. I definitely don't see it being strategic.
But
like,
I guess my thing is like, so if Aegon tells his mom, well, I guess she's powerless. But if he does tell his mom, like, what is going to happen to, like, is Daemon going to sneak in his room and try and kill him?
We don't know. Here's the thing. I think he's in a between a rock and a hard place, because on the one hand, he could not say anything and Aemond might still try to kill him. Just to keep his mouth shut while he's weak, or he could say something and then Aemond try to kill him. So I don't know what purpose it would serve. I think at this point it is self-preservation, and I don't know that in his circumstances that I might do anything different until he can get a better feel on. Now, again, I don't know if Aegon is, not that he's not smart enough, but that I don't know if he's strategic and calculating enough like Aemond is. But coming out of that situation, I would rather take in my surroundings and figure out what the situation is to decide who I might be able to tell and who might be able to actually help me, versus me just going off to the first person. Like, as Danny said, what's his mom going to do?
Realistically, what is anybody going to do, honestly?
Right.
Like, he's already scheming with Criston Cole. Even if Cole doesn't agree with what he did, they're scheming together, so that truth would have to come out. I
guess the question is, well, concerning Sir Criston Cole, like, where does his allegiance lie? Because Aegon did name him Hand of the King, and I know he was also scheming with Aemond at the same time. So I'm sort of curious as to like where his allegiances lie when it comes down to those two.
That's a good question. I don't think he knows.
I don't think so. But I think, honestly, I think he fears Aemond more than
for sure. Absolutely.
Aegon, especially after seeing what he did with Vhagar and Rook's Rest.
And he's in a rock and a hard place too. But once again, he hasn't showed allegiance to anybody. He hasn't shown allegiance to Alicent. He hasn't shown allegiance to Aegon. So I guess by default, you have to say Aemond.
Right, because he's the one who has the most power right now.
Yeah. So
I think his allegiances lie with whoever has the upper hand at that point.
Yeah, facts. Following that sequence, we get Rhaenyra, who is in the Vale. She's walking with one of Rhaenyra's sons. I don't know which son it is. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I thought it was Joffrey, but I could be mistaken.
It's Joffrey. That's what we're gonna roll with. And she comes across, some August grass that hasn't been watered, and some bones, indicating that there is another dragon in the Vale. Now, for your researchers out there, and people that want to know this stuff. Apparently, I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying this, but the dragon is sheep stealer that's out there in the Vale.
Yep.
And so the question here, we know that Rhaenyra does not have a dragon. There's a dragon in the Vale. 1 + 1, is it equaling 2? Or do you think that Rhaenyra is going to be able to claim this dragon?
I think she will claim this dragon for sure.
I think there's a good chance.
It's her time now. It's her time.
And she's getting tired of being overlooked, as was very clear when she was walking the sun, being like, oh, sometimes you just got to settle into the position. We're not all made for greatness. And I feel like she's definitely telling herself more than she is telling him. But I do think she sees this as her opportunity. And what's more is she's willing to die for it, I think. So whether she claims the dragon or not, she's like, I'm either going to claim this dragon or I'm going to die trying.
Yeah, I think Rhaenyra needs a W. She's going through it this season. I feel like I want to see her succeed. Like I really want to see her, be able to claim dragon before, these next.
I do think she's gonna actually claim that dragon before they ship her out to Pentos.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think it's gonna happen next episode.
Yeah,
possibly.
Yeah,
before she leaves to Pentos. Lord, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, so forgive me for those who care. Lord Bartimos, gets smacked by Rhaenyra. He had it
Finally.
coming. He had it coming.
definitely
It took
said-
too many episodes.
It really did,
did,
yo.
yeah.
Like this should have been. She should have bitch slapped him a while ago.
I honestly become deaf to him when he speaks at this point. So I don't even know what he said to make her slap him. I just saw her slap. And I was
I
like,
think it was
finally.
I think it was just sort of like this built up like over these past episodes of him questioning her, and she's just like, I have had enough of your shit. Like, I mean, like, I'm the queen. You forget your place. Let me remind you.
Oh, it was a
real
great
quick.
line. What she said, like, I think it's my fault that I forgot that you forgot to fear me. That was a great line.
That was a perfect line. I was like, yes.
I mean, like, you
that.
saw what happened to Lord Dockland.
Yeah, that could be you.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you like to bond a dragon?
And it's not as even like what they're saying as much as their tone. There's just their tone is totally disrespectful, man.
Yeah.
Because he can be making a great point, but his tone is like, you should do da da da, you stupid. Like that's how he comes off.
Yeah. And he said something. He said, yeah, I can't remember. Like I said, I go deaf to him when he speaks because I'm like, you're just wanting to hear yourself talk at this point. It's annoying.
Right.
Yeah. We start to see Rhaenyra's and White Worm's plan come together with the boats coming into King's Landing with all this food. And then we get a scene with Alicent and King Aegon. And the master comes in, Maester, not master. The Maester comes in and says there's no word of Otto. And this also doesn't actually happen in the books. Like we actually know where Otto is this whole time. So I'm just very curious to see what their whole plan is because he hasn't been returning any of her voicemails, apparently, any of her messages. And oh, you just got the joke. Very delayed response.
Sorry.
There's also following that, we see Sir Criston and Alicent's brother and getting ready to head off to war, and Alicent, goes up to her brother and they talk about Alicent's son, who we haven't seen yet. And I don't know if we're gonna see him this season, or maybe not. Who knows? But Darren, who apparently is actually not an asshole compared to his other brothers. So I'm very curious to see when he shows up, how he shows up, and what role he plays. Particularly if he shows up this season, what role he's going to play.
When did he disappear? Because they were
didn't
talking.
disappear.
I'm like, no, I know, but did she send him away?
Yeah, she sent him away. Yeah,
I couldn't remember because I'm like, what son? What son is it?
Yeah. She sent him away, if I'm not mistaken, to Old Town when he was younger.
Yes.
So,
but keeping track of the kids that are not around is a task.
It is a task.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason why I know about Rhaenyra's other sons is because we remotely see them occasionally. Like, oh yeah, these two kids. I forgot about them, but here they are. Whereas Daeron, we haven't actually seen yet, but we just hear his name and we just kind of forget that he's there.
Right.
And then we also get a look between Sir Criston and Alicent, and just like there's one of those awkward like breakups, but we were forced to like work with each other. It's like one of those work relationships, and it's like this is it. I think this is probably the last time that they see each other.
Yeah, but it felt like longing to me. It felt like I
was going to say the same thing. I was going to say that it's like I felt like she looked at him with longing,
like I missed
conflict. Right. Like, it's like, I want you, but at the same time, I can't because you're not, as we were speaking about earlier with the allegiance, nobody's on her side at this point. So I do think some semblance of her cares more deeply about him, but all of them are very selfish. So, but I agree that it feels like she may not be seeing him again, at least not anytime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like that friends with benefits thing. It's like,
Yeah, it's
I
like
don't think she realized like how wait, I actually care about you. I thought you were just getting me the sloppy jalops, but now I'm like,
She said, "I miss you going down this alley, cat." Sorry.
Y'all talk about me, man.
Alley Cat is really good.
I know
I
that
would've
was a
never
great
come up
meme.
with
That was a hilarious meme. Yeah, people are so creative. It bothers me. Like, damn, man, people are so creative. It's just like shit, but we can't solve the world's problems. We sit up here making memes.
You right.
All this creativity, and we can't be creative enough to solve the world's problems, man. It's
You
crazy.
are right.
Larys, the ray of sunshine that he is, talks to Aegon. It's just like, you know what? Your life is, as we know it, is pretty much over. You might as well forget about it. You know, being able to walk, being able to do all these great things that you're used to being able to do, forget about it. You're going to have to use your brain, bro. You're going to have to get over it. People are going to look down on you. You're a cripple now, basically. Yeah. But, you know, we can use that. You know, he basically gives him, you know, tears him down, but he also like lifts him up and gives him a little, you know, ray of hope that, you know, it's going to be okay. And we actually see some humility and a human side to Larys that we haven't seen before, because I think he sees a lot of himself, obviously, in Aegon being a cripple himself, and he tells a story about his clubfoot and being born with it and everything. But the question here is, do you think that, because Larys, Aegon does ask for his help, but do you think Larys is going to use Aegon as like a sort of pawn in his, you know, chess game? Or is this like Larys genuinely wanting to help this kid because he sees so much in him that he's like genuinely wants to see him like excel?
Well, number one, I was worried because Aegon had his foot out. So you got to be careful with that guy.
I sent y'all that one too.
But no, I actually thought this was actually a genuine moment from him. Mm-hmm. It didn't feel like, I mean, he's probably always scheming, so it's really tough to say. Like, there's not a small little thing of like, you know, I'm just hoping that you maybe survive so I don't have to deal with Aemond. But no, this felt like a genuine moment. Like, he just could relate in that way. This actually did. Yeah.
I disagree.
Oh,
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah,
hot take.
I mean, it's yet to be determined, right? I'm very suspicious of Larys.
As you should be.
Yeah, so he, like we've said it before.
I mean, you
like,
can never trust a man with a foot fetish. I mean,
first of all, you know what? I'm gonna leave it
She's
alone.
like, that's true.
Anyway, we've said it before that Larys does give like little finger vibes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't trust Larys. And in that moment, I didn't get genuineness from him. And I felt like he was using it as he may have felt some type of way in the past. I think he owns his so-called cripple. I think he's using it as a means of, like you said, tearing Aegon down, making him feel even more dread. It's like, oh, you're never going to walk again. Like, there's no hope there. And Larys is also very observant himself. So part of me in that moment was like, I wonder if he suspects there is something greater between Aemond and Aegon. Like, he may not understand the full scope of it, but maybe he has his suspicions there. So I think it's a ploy to feed his own ambitions, but time will tell. But in that moment, I didn't actually see human in him. I said, this mofo is really in here trying to manipulate this young man. I don't know.
I mean, he already manipulated him already though before this, so it's like I think he already had his claws in him regardless.
Yes, but we just saw him
get shaded by Aemond.
Yes, and then all of a sudden you're immediately in with Aegon, and it makes me question: had Aemond actually made him hand and gave him that, would he have gone to Aegon?
That was actually my point I was going to make. I was like, I think if Aemond had actually made him hand of the king, I don't know if
he's paying him a visit right now.
Yeah, I don't think so. That's the way I sort of
Yeah.
That's what I look
No,
at.
that's very true. I think that's
That's
very
why
true.
for me, I don't think there's
That's a good point. That's a good point. It just
there's sincerity in that at all.
yeah, that's a good point. It just
Mhm.
played off very sincere to me.
Yeah. Well, that's what he wants. you
Or
to think.
maybe two things could be right at once.
Yeah, that's true. Could be both.
That's true.
Could
That's
be,
true.
yeah,
Could be
yeah.
both.
But we will see if Laris is 10 toes down.
How long did it take you to come up with that?
I literally
one?
just thought about it. Like,
There you go.
when y'all were
He
talking
was
about
just he was waiting.
it. I was
cannot
like, I got
wait
a
to
good
say
one.
this.
I got a good dad joke. My kids are gonna hate me.
Oh gosh.
Okay, so Daemon, again, surprise, surprise, has another fever dream. This time he is consoling his brother after the loss of Viserys' wife. Sir Simon, again, surprise, 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 surprise. Okay. So Simon interrupts and tells him that Lord Grover is dead. And Oscar Tully is now in charge of the Riverlands. We also learn in this scene that Alice was one of the maids that went over to try and help heal him of his ailments and of his illness. And we know from a previous scene that she told Damon to do nothing. You know, the winds are coming, change, blah, blah, blah. And
In 3 days,
yeah,
the winds will change.
yeah, the winds will change.
There you go.
And sure enough, the winds did change. And I'm assuming, just like you're assuming, that I'm assuming that we're all assuming that that Alice did have a hand in his death. Are we assuming that?
Yes, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Of course. No,
You-
I hadn't thought about that.
Is that sarcasm? I'm not.
No. To be honest, I hadn't. It's not sarcasm. No, I think I got lost at that point. I couldn't remember who that was. So I was
Oh,
just
Alice, you couldn't remember.
no, not Alice. The guy who died.
Oh. So Grover. Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't. I don't think I could really surmise anything from that because
Well, because we never actually see him on screen. He's always a character that they talk about, but never actually see
Okay,
him.
well, I couldn't. So that's why I'm like, if you're assuming, that's why Danny was like, yeah, of course. I'm like, oh, sure.
I just go along with it, you know. Everyone's jumping off a bridge.
Apparently, there's safety at the bottom.
No, and it was clear, like, that he did what Alice asked and did nothing, and he was handsomely rewarded with a murder.
Yeah. Do you think those were like tears of joy, tears of sadness, tears of like?
I think
what
those are definitely tears of joy. Still, maybe relief, but I definitely got a sense more. Not joy. What was the other? Sadness. Tears of sadness. Tears of like, because he really did want to. He did love Viserys very much. He did care about them. That gets underspoken.
Mhm.
He did have a lot of love for that, and he does regret not being there when she died, when Alice died. So there's two Alices, by the way. The Alice dead wife. So like he does regret not being there. So I think they more are tears of sorrow in that regret.
Yeah, I feel like if we're going to talk about the human side of somebody, it would be Daemon in that. I think it's one of those things where it was the what did they say? When you put something small on top of a big pile and it makes everything fall. I can't think.
You talking about Jenga? I don't know.
Definitely not Jenga.
That's the only thing I can think of when you said
point
that.
is that there was this build of a lot of emotions, a lot of regrets, a lot of things that he's pushed in the back of his mind and compartmentalized. And I think it finally tipped him over. And I think it might be a lot. I don't think it's joy, but I do think it's a release just of everything. So everybody needs a good cry every now and then, you know?
Yeah, it sends you right to sleep. I'm gonna tell you that.
Do you think
If
he
it's
comes
good
out?
enough? Yeah.
Do you think he's?
Sorry.
Do you think he comes out like a changed man after this?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is like his sort of turning point similar to Jaime Lannister's type.
You had
thing.
some scrutiny, Tamika. You don't agree?
I don't know. It's too early for me to say. Do I think he's going to be a changed man?
I'm saying this is like the beginning of his like new revelation into being a different man.
Mm-hmm.
And then he can end up being like, you know, Billy Butcher, you know, for those who watch
The Boys.
Watch The Boys.
When the last episode aired, I was very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll do a review on
I
that.
don't know.
Yeah, we'll do a whole season review on that.
Did you ever watch it?
I did watch it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So in the next scene, Alyn claims Seasmoke or Seasmoke claims Alyn. I'm not really sure, you know, to be honest with you. He kind like Seasmoke kind of just
Wait, it's Addam, right?
Oh, sorry, Addam. Yeah, you're right. Addam.
Alyn is confused with these names.
I know. All these A's, man.
It's a lot of A's.
Yeah, so yeah, he's
And we're not talking Oakland.
and y'all talk about me. I'm not even sure, Tamika, you get me? No?
I got it.
Oh, okay. All
All right, go ahead.
It's that Childish Gambino song. Down on 24 in Oakland. In Oakland. Very, very.
I was ready for it.
Anyway, so Addam claimed the Seasmoke.
Yeah, no, I mean, just
Or
yeah.
did Seasmoke claim Addam?
Yeah. That's basically what happened because it's just kind of like one of those first grade love romances. Like when a girl comes up to you, it's just like, you're my boyfriend now. It's like, oh yeah, you're right. You know, like they kind of that's what it kind of like. You kind of slipped into it. Like
I like that actually. Yes, I feel like that's basically what happened. He's like, hey, you want to get on my back? And Addam was like,
I don't really have a choice.
yeah, exactly. Like the way you're looking at me, like if I say no, like, yeah. All right, so coming to the end of the episode,
And it's not random, by the way, for anybody who thinks it's random that Seasmoke chose.
Well, why do you say it's not random? I mean, I agree, I know that it's not random, but can you elaborate?
Well, he's related to Laenor, or like half related to Laenor, and that's what Seasmoke's writer was, Laenor. Who is?
Oh, yes. Wait.
Do you know who Laenor is?
Will you remind me?
Laenor is what's the name?
He's technically
husband.
Rhaenyra's husband.
Technically. Rhaenyra's husband. But remember, he was
shipped
gay.
off. Yeah, he was shipped off to.
Yes.
So here's my question.
But wait, but that doesn't make sense though, because he is what homie's name? What's his name? Rhaenys's husband?
Corlys?
Corlys. He's Corlys's son.
Yeah, technically Corlys. Technically,
they're half
Laenor.
brothers.
Yeah, they're half brothers. Technically, Laenor, Addam, and Alyn they're brothers.
Right, I get that, but
Okay.
Laenor would have Rhaenys's.
Yeah, she would have. Yeah, he would have Targaryen blood.
But Addam wouldn't, because he's not related to.
Yeah, but they came from the same sperm.
Oh, that's right, because they marry their cousins. I forget. So Corlys.
It's only 9 o'clock. It's not even late. Like
that's Hunger Games.
Right. Okay.
Corlys is Hunger Games.
Okay.
Sorry. Same thing.
Everyone read that classic. So.
I'm still confused, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. Basically, I get it. They're half brothers. Got it.
But you just said you were so confused. But now you get. Oh, but you did.
In terms of how the blood again,
And do you remember, like, the Valerians do have that high Valerian kind of ancestry.
Yeah, and I think it's very.
Well.
I think we do have to make the distinction here that Valerians and Valerians are different. I guess
Are different.
Like Valerians are like the Valerians are Valerian. I guess so to speak. Like,
I don't care anymore.
Okay, well, we're breaking down for the audience, not for you.
Just like the Targaryens are technically,
and they're all from Old Valyria.
Old Valyria, yeah.
So it's not out of the realm of possibility that he would choose him. My question is, did Laenor die? Because from my knowledge, a dragon sticks to their rider until death. So does that mean Laenor gone? And why couldn't he find Laenor, Seasmoke?
It's a good question.
That is a good question.
I don't know if that's a plot hole or if it's just
or maybe
something they're gonna reveal later.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm hoping it's something that they reveal later.
Maybe he's dead to Seasmoke. Like, well, you dip, so moving on.
But I mean, in theory, he should be able to find him because they like have this bond. And
yes, but he was also purposely trying to run away, so maybe there's a understanding.
Oh yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's kind of like maybe it's an open relationship. Okay.
Sure.
All right. So coming down to the end of this episode, we do get the scene between Rhaenyra and the White Worm, Mysaria. Mysaria, gives her backstory about her and her father. Oh, the incest on the show. They just never, it just never ceases to end. Apparently she got pregnant by her father. He was very abusive to her, left her for dead. I don't know. Was it clear that like, did the baby get cut out of her or did like,
because she has a scar.
Yeah. Okay. And she can no longer have children. And, this, speaks to Rhaenyra, and they have like this really long embrace, a very long hug. And it goes on and it goes on and it goes on. And me as a viewer just sitting up here watching like, oh, like, but this is a really long hug that's going on.
I saw what was coming.
But then the wheels started turning in my head. I was like, oh, they're going to do it. They're going to do it, aren't they? And then they did it. They ended up kissing. And for me,
this is so unnecessary.
It kind of came out of nowhere because I didn't see, like, I get like the emotional bonding experience that they had in that moment, and Rhaenyra being able to relate to her, and Rhaenyra going through her own struggles being queen. And I guess it was a very emotional moment for those two characters. I just didn't see the translation or correlation between that moment and it escalating into a physical
manifestation.
Yeah.
Narratively, it makes sense. But they haven't planted any seeds.
Yeah, that there was any type of physical attraction or some type of, like, most of their relationship has been more scheming and plotting and less about them bonding. And this is like their first time that we actually see them sort of.
Yeah, and it was, yes.
Well, it doesn't have to mean anything. Like they had a heated moment. So I'm taking it out from it being these two characters. And I'm thinking, like, if there's attraction between a man and a woman who spend a lot of time together, a lot of talking together, and find they are relatable in a lot of ways, they might share a kiss, they might have a moment, and then realize, actually, that was weird and inappropriate. I don't know. I think it was a really bad decision on Rhaenyra's part. I think she just needs to stay clear of that. But as Ty alluded to, is that she's very high in her emotions. And this is really the first time, I think, that Rhaenyra has heard someone outright say, like, I support you and I think you would be a great queen. And that's why I'm still here. And I feel like that in itself was so emotional for her, because not that she needs the validation, but she's getting it from someone she would have never expected versus the people she wants to get it from. She wants the support from certain people. So I think that gave her a lot of energy in that moment and a lot of love, not love necessarily for the person, but just vulnerability in that moment.
Yeah.
And then the White Worm, who has clearly confessing that she has sworn off men. She uses them to get what she needs, but she doesn't trust them. And who knows in the world that she comes from, what her interactions and relationships have been. So it did look very much to me that she initiated it, and Rhaenyra kind of fell into the vulnerability of the moment. That's how it came across to me. But it doesn't have to necessarily mean anything. It could just be a moment of high emotion. It's like, but we'll see. We'll see when next episode.
Well, I guess that was my question is, do you foresee it potentially moving forward anywhere, or is this like just sort of a one and done type?
Then
situation?
why? Once again, my question then: why is it necessary? Why can't they just be friends? Why can't they just be friends?
They can still be friends.
But why do we have to have them kissing each other?
Again,
because it's HBO and they need something.
Well, this is what I will say about that. Well, two things. One, for all you Star Wars fans out there, if you recall the last, was it the Skywalker? What's the last movie? Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker. Okay. Rise of Skywalker. If you remember in that scene, Kylo kisses Rey right before he ends up dying, and a lot of people had a lot of
spoiler alert.
Sure. I had a lot of problems with that scene, and it reminds me so much of this because it kind of like, for a lot of people, the way that they explained it is very similar to how they're explaining this particular scene. Of just like, it was just emotion that these two characters are experiencing together, and they sort of physically display that. If you, according to the actor that plays Mysaria, Sonia Mizuno, and I'm not sure if I'm actually pronouncing her first name right, but that she says that the kiss it wasn't planned, it wasn't in the script. They in the script it was just like them heavily breathing in each other's faces. And then Emma Darcy and the showrunner, whose name is escaping me right now, they had a lot of conversations about it, and they sort of came together and was like, it's like a natural progression for these two characters to sort of end up.
It's
here.
not.
That's what they
I was
sort
gonna
of
say. I don't
it's
agree
not
with that
natural.
either. Like where natural progression, like you would have to see some kind of
there need to be
progression.
seeds there.
Yeah, I agree with.
Here's
Danny
what
on
I'll
that
say. Here's how this would benefit, because this recontextualizes pretty much Rhaenyra's sexuality.
Ooh, recontextualize.
So in that regard, like, if it turns out like that she had feelings for Alicent, because if you go back to season 1, especially when they were in the near the railroad tree, that was like kind of a flirty vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I got flirty vibes from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
If that kind of says, okay, well, she's had deeper feelings about Alicent for a while, it would kind of explain why she's so hesitant to like really come after the Greens in that way to where it would hurt Alicent. So if they go in that route and kind of set that up, then I can see how this scene would benefit that. But even I think that's loose. I'm just saying, just because the scene felt super unnecessary to me, that's the only way that I would be able to kind of accept this. You know what I'm saying?
I don't disagree with what you're saying. I don't think it really matters.
So it's a one and done. So
I think so. And I understand what you're saying. It's like, then why is it necessary? And you made a good point. I mean, it's HBO.
No, I think it's less on HBO and more based on what the actors were saying. It's more on the showrunner and Emma Darcy, and then of course Sonia had to sign off on it as well. Like this to me, this is strictly more of creative license. Like with these, everyone came together creatively. They shared what their thoughts and opinions were, and they collectively said, "All right, this is the direction."
But the dialogue has been like, "Oh, well, remember that scene? How nothing came of it." I can see the discourse being.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a risk, and they even said, and I have it right here. They said they really didn't want it to come off as queer baity. And that's what they were trying to
be
avoid.
fair, it doesn't come off that way.
It
to
doesn't
me.
come off as that, but like for a lot of people, it's an unnecessary. It was like,
It's
oh,
very
like
unnecessary.
we're like they didn't really need to go there. It was
Yeah,
kinda
I just feel like they can
misplaced.
just be friends, man. I think they can just be like sisters and support of each other. Because she kind of Mysaria before this was playing kind of like a hand of the queen role without having the tactical, knowledge.
Mhm.
So
Right.
that
I mean, I
kind of
don't
ruined that
disagree.
for me. Now she's just like a Varys part 2 with the same backstory.
I was gonna say that's exactly like she is Varys and Larys is Littlefinger. Those are the two characters that they sort of remind me of in the show.
Yeah.
I guess I see your points.
And I get, and the thing is, I think this is why it's hitting so hard for me, because within the history of Game of Thrones, we don't have two women that can just be friends. Like, why can't they just think about it? Like, why can't they just like they don't have like friend relationships with it? It doesn't always have to be like about like.
Well, what's the name? Daenerys had her.
Melisandre.
Yeah, Melisandre. Yeah.
Oh
They
no,
were-
not Melisandre.
What's her name?
Missandei.
Yeah,
whatever,
Missandei. They
something
were
like-
friends.
they
There was
were
nothing
friends.
like sexual about their relationship.
Didn't they kiss once?
There's a lot
they
of
didn't.
I
You wanted them to
No,
kiss.
get out of
That's it.
wow. I don't recall, so I can't speak on that because I really.
But it's
don't
very
recall.
rare. No.
Yeah, I would say that. I would say that it's not. I would say yes. You don't normally in the Game of Thrones world see female friends.
Interesting. I don't know. I can definitely understand your perspective. I don't think it's going to mean anything. I do understand. It's like, okay, well, what was the purpose?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Especially if it was just improv. But maybe
It's
not
just one of
improv,
those things
but-
where I
And I
would have taken it out. If
Yeah.
I would have been.
I feel like as
or
as a film-
suggested it like cut away.
well, yeah. I mean, as a filmmaker,
I think that was the plan in the beginning with the heavy breathing. like you
Yeah. I
alluded
think
to.
as a filmmaker, I mean, and maybe they did do it this both ways. I would like, all right, let's try it this way, and then we could try it this way too, and see
Yeah.
how it plays out.
Yeah.
And maybe they did do that. I don't know. I wasn't there, but let me see.
Yeah, we probably hopped on this too long.
Yeah, we probably did. But that's basically how that episode ends. One of the guards comes in and is like, Seasmoke has been sided with a rider, and they automatically think that it's one of the Greens.
Mhm.
Rhaenyra
She hops on that dragon.
She hops on that dragon. And,
Cyrax? I think it's Cyrax.
yeah, Cyrax, and that's
That's how the
yeah,
episode
that's
ends.
how that episode ends. In a weird way, it's not anticlimactic, but it wasn't like it was kind of like anticlimactic. Because I feel like for me, you already know who
Yeah,
the
you know
writer
nothing's gonna
is
happen.
of
You know,
Seasmoke, so it's
yeah.
like there was no mystery behind that. So it's just kind of like,
that's a yeah. I agree.
But I don't think it's intended to be a mystery for the audience.
well, what I'm saying
I
is
think-
how the episode ends is like there's this mystery of who it is, but we already know who it is,
and once they encounter each other, I don't think anything's gonna happen.
yeah.
I could be wrong. I could
That's
be
true.
wrong.
Even though it's a cool shot, I'm not gonna lie, it's a cool shot.
Yeah, it's a great
right?
shot.
Yeah,
But I think I agree. Yeah, this episode had problems. For sure.
very rare. See that.
Yeah.
But that's how this episode ends. There were like two other scenes that we didn't really touch on, but I do want to touch on them briefly. We do get a Hugh the Hammer scene where he's jacking the. Oh, you know what? We didn't touch on it. I'm sorry.
Hey, we're going back.
I know we did not touch on the fact that Alicent was out the sept praying for her relationship
Oh yeah.
over with.
Oh my gosh, we totally missed it.
Yeah, we totally missed that. I
Jesus.
must.
That's a big part.
Yeah, and it's in my notes. I guess I must have been scrolling too fast. But yeah, she was her and Helena were out, and she was at the set praying over her relationship with Sir Criston, and all hell breaks loose with the townsfolk, with the small folks, over the food, and it's not funny, but she does get smacked in the face with some fish.
That's hilarious. What are you talking about?
And then they gotta make a quick getaway in their getaway vehicle, the carriage, and not before one of the guards slices off someone's hands.
I think it's one of the 3 bumbling.
Yeah.
It was
a Curly, Mo, or
yeah,
that's what they remind me of,
yeah,
man.
essentially. And they still bopped into each other.
Yeah, they're jokes, man. Jokes.
So I was glad that at least one. It looked like one of them got like jumped and die. So that's good. What fools, clowns.
So I overlooked that scene, and then we also have Hugh the Hammer, and I know, like I said previously, we're all wondering how this is all going to play out, but I do think there is like we can all sort of see how this is going to end up, where he's going to decide he's going to end up picking.
For sure. As soon as that kid dies, that's it. Oh, is that where you're going?
Well, no, I was going to say everyone is just assuming, what if this kid doesn't die?
This kid is dying. That's going to be the catalyst. That's for me, that pathway is clear.
What is going to happen with his wife? Do you think his wife is going to end up dying too?
Maybe. Even that's better hard. For him to
she might check out. If nothing more, if nothing else.
I mean, well, she seems like a fighter, though. She seems like she's a fighter.
She does seem like a fighter.
Fighting strictly for
the kid's life.
Yeah,
right.
She's fighting for scraps, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he was fighting for them carrots. He was like, "Oh my goddamn!"
He knocked my guy out, man.
But no, I think the last time we saw the little girl, she was really on death's door already. So I feel like it's definitely gonna happen. She's gonna die. He's gonna be like, all right, well, that was the last straw. Let me join the other side. Feel me. Sorry.
And then lastly, we do get a very brief scene with Helena forecasting tomorrow's weather, basically. Because you never know what she's talking about in her, you know, but she has these
one of
visions.
Her crickets died, so you know that's an omen for something.
Yeah, and she's talking about somebody singing. So we don't have no idea what it means, but we know more than likely somebody's going to die in the next 2 episodes. Well, that's where we can go.
I thought we were talking about. I thought we were talking about the cricket dying. She said this. I didn't think that it died. She said this one stopped singing. Isn't that strange? She didn't ever said it died.
So I can presume that somebody's still gonna die. No.
Well, she said this one stopped singing.
No, she did say that. You're right.
It doesn't mean that death per se. And in the moment,
well, if a cricket stops singing, doesn't it mean that it's on death's door?
I don't know. I would have to. That's something I would have to research. I don't know.
Biology at that point.
But again, she's saying, she's noting herself. Isn't that strange? Like, so in that moment, I didn't even take it as a premonition, which it could very well be. That's probably what it is. But in that moment, I took it more as a reflection of what was going on internally, like in the house already. And the divisiveness that's already occurring in the house. That's I took it as a metaphor for what was already taking place. But it could very well be speaking about the future.
Yeah, I think so. Because whenever we see Helena, basically,
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say usually when she's speaking, it's usually in riddles that we have to like try and figure out, and then it's usually by the next couple of usually somewhere down the line, at least we like, oh, that's what she means.
Especially with animals, man.
Yeah.
It was the rats last time. It's crickets now.
It was it something was under the boards?
Yeah. What was it? Season 1? I forget.
I forget too. It was something that was under the boards.
It wasn't boards. It was another animal.
Yeah. So, which linked to Rhaenys and her dragon coming up under the boards.
Yep.
So yeah. And speaking of Helena, we do not get that much of her anymore. Like before, like early in the season, I felt like we got more scenes with her, and now she's kind of like a side character now. We also didn't get any Baela this episode either. So yeah. But yeah, that's gonna do it for our review of this episode. Can you believe it? We only got 2 more episodes. We only got 2 more episodes left. This is crazy, man. 2 more. I'm assuming a lot of shit's gonna hit the fan in the next 2 episodes, because usually episode 7 is kind of like, or usually the episode before
2 last episodes,
is usually the penultimate episode where a lot of stuff goes down, and then episode, the last episode, usually when they wrap up everything, is like sort of like an epilogue. So I'm assuming next week is going to be like a really big episode. And considering that this is like I think this is the longest episode that we got. Nothing, I'm not going to say nothing really happened, but I'm going to say nothing of real significance as of yet has happened. And we got to wait for it to sort of play out and see. But I do think we're all in agreement here. And of course, I am assuming that this is probably the weakest of the episodes that we've gotten.
I don't think it's I have my critiques with this episode for sure. That definitely has its flaws. But no, I think the episode 4 was still the weakest. Not episode 4. No, that was the strongest episode. What was the This is the weakest.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know that I felt like it was the weakest.
Because episode 3 still was in this kind of range for me. But once again, the setup matters here. The setup definitely matters.
Yeah. Because they're going to pay it off.
Yeah. What were you saying, TV? I'm sorry.
No, I just was saying I can't speak to it yet. I don't know.
I mean, how did you enjoy the episode? Did you think it was like not good? I thought the episode was
no.
good.
I don't think they put out a not bad. I don't think they put out a bad episode yet. But I'm just saying, like in terms of we're 6 episodes in. I think this is probably like my least favorite of them. I'm still gonna go back and rewatch all these at some point in time. But
I thought it was entertaining. Regardless, I liked the play. I liked seeing Rhaenyra's play in this. Is getting the people to see, sympathize with her. Not necessarily sympathizing, but her providing the food and be like, I still care about you guys. See, they don't even care about you. I enjoyed that aspect. This felt very mind gamey. This episode, so you got a lot. Well, not a lot, but you got a little bit of different things. You saw a little bit of Aemond. You saw a little bit of Alicent. You saw a little bit of Rhaenyra. You saw a little bit of Larys and Aegon. Like there was a little bit of a lot going on, and I like seeing the chess pieces move.
Yeah. This is definitely the episode where I think for me, this just had the most like prominent flaws in it that I could see like straight away.
Fair.
But it's still, I think it's still a good episode for sure. I wasn't not entertained.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think it's kind of hard, not being entertained by these episodes, especially when the writing is pretty good with the dialogue and everything like that. And of course, when we've had Game of Thrones those last couple seasons.
Well, I think that's why any critique on this show is going to be like magnified just because of how.
But a lot of people,
which is not fair.
Yeah, but I was saying I don't like to use the word a lot of people just because. Like whenever you're talking about social media, it's hard to say that's a lot of people. Yeah. It's very like a minority group of people, but at least from the people that I've seen in the comment section have been disappointed so far in this season in comparison to season 1. So
yeah, I can't say the same.
But we'll see how it all plays out. We do want to thank you guys for, of course, watching and continuing to support us and continue to keep those views up on YouTube, the stories and everything. Leave comments. Let us know what you guys think if you have questions of us. And we will see you next week.
Penultimate episode, baby.
Bye-bye.